should be live. Well, not a lot of people in the chat right now, so let's see if people will show up in a moment. There is something interesting I want to talk about, but it's easier to talk about it when there are people. I am going to give guys a moment to join me. Until that time, I might give you, how do you call it? A nice song, I guess. I'm going to be nasty. And for Saint Nicolas, because today, the 5th of December, is the birthday of Saint Nicolas, which doesn't really mean much to a lot of people, but in the Netherlands, it's a big deal. It's what Santa Claus in America is based on. Now, I know that the United Nations, I've forgotten the name of that Jamaican temp agent, I don't know. She complained about how the Dutch shouldn't just do the Santa Claus thing because they already have Santa Claus. No, you silly cow. Santa Claus is Sinterklaas, and Sinterklaas is older than Santa Claus. But let's see if I can have a nice song for a moment. Whilst we wait, why not? Yeah, that should be nice. Oh, they are songs for kids, by the way.
En die beste Sinterklaas, die brengt ons heel veel speculaas. Altijd in galop. Hop, 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 hop.
I could show you the video clip. I'm not going to do that because YouTube might not like it.
We zitten nu rechtop. Sinterklaas die komt uit Spanje. Hij brengt appels van oranje. Altijd in galop. Hop, 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 hop.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, you know what? I've given it a little bit of time. Not a lot of time, I have to admit. But I'm going to start with the stream. Anyway. Now, apparently there should be people watching, even if it's only 1 or 2. But I'm not seeing anyone in the live chat, so that could be my fault, because funny enough, the live chat in the Hangout itself is working, but for some reason I can't see it in my window. It's YouTube all over again. This is interesting. Okay, so I have to open an apart window with the live chat. And no, all I see is that Ludicrous left a message. Is it late or broken? No, it shouldn't be late. It shouldn't be broken. It should be now. So maybe I was a minute too late. I'm sorry, my friend. And you didn't get a notification. That's weird. Is the song There's a Dead Man Up the Chimney? No, that's not the song. The song in this case was Hop, 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 Hop. Horse in Gallop, basically. Translating children's songs is a terrible thing. I shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, no. That was one of the Sinterklaas songs that we have. There are plenty of them, don't get me wrong. And it's kind of funny, because today is, as I said, the birthday of Saint Nicolas, and this is when families come together and give gifts to each other. Basically, it's what in America is Christmas, when Santa Claus, Saint Claus, Saint Klaas, Sinterklaas, same guy, never mind that, comes and gives presents to children. And just like in America, in the Netherlands, they decided that since the 1st of December, you have to wear a face diaper or get fined. And this is a funny story, I'll get back to it in a moment. But because you have to wear a face diaper, they basically also said, yeah, you best not go to family. Now, it hasn't gone as far as some places in the United States where they will actually go to houses and fine people or arrest people because they went to family. But in this country, they probably would fine you. Obviously, I haven't heard stories of it yet, because if so, it would happen tonight. And I'm not following the news that much. Let's see if I can see myself on the chat. Yeah, I can see myself on the chat. The chat seems to be acting weird for me. I don't know why. You can't have it all. Anyway, so where was I going with my train of thought? They haven't arrested anyone yet. Not like America, where people have been kicked out of the houses they visited with friends. But yeah, I mean, stupidity all over the place. The Netherlands isn't much different, which is really strange. Why is it really strange? Well, not in the last place, because not too long ago, the standard story was, no, masks don't work. And not just politicians saying that, because let's be honest, politicians are as knowledgeable as the next one. But no, professional staff, like for example the Dutch version of the CDC, but then again the American version of the CDC did kind of say this too, did say that masks don't really work. I mean, it gives a nice feeling of it might work, but it doesn't. And back in the days, one of the professors in line of the medical firm in this country, basically the Dutch version of the CDC, sorry, RIVM, the one responsible for virus and contagions, basically said, yeah, you know, it's all good and well to wear a mask. By all means do if you want to. But if it really worked, why did we see such a terrible breakout in Asian countries where people were already wearing masks way before anything had happened? Which to me seems like a fair point. Another nice thing they said was, if 200,000 people would wear a mask for a week, maybe you'd prevent one case. Probably not though, because if you wear a mouthpiece too much, you might actually get sick because of wearing the mouthpiece too much, because you have to refresh them regularly. And with regularly, once every half an hour is on the late side. But then again, there are people who happily work all day with the same face diaper. Makes you wonder. And the funny thing is that in the Netherlands, you now are obligated to wear a face diaper. By law, you're mandated, not obligated, you're mandated to wear a face diaper. Which, you know, all good and well, why not? But there's a problem with that. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that in Europe, there are several countries that in their law basically say, yeah, no, you can't force people. This is one of the reasons why so many countries in the Netherlands, for example, had a problem with forcing to forbid the hijab from being worn in Western countries in Europe. I'm slightly falling back on my own words. I'm sorry about that. And because of that, I mean, you can't force people not to wear a hijab, because you should be free to wear what the hell you want to wear. But they said, well, yeah, but no, we do have a good excuse now. They don't, but they like to pretend they do. So what is that good excuse they think they have? Well, they said, we have a good excuse because, how do you say this in a nice way? Oh, right, people get the coof and then they die. There's only a few problems with that mentality. First, it's not true. And don't get me wrong, people do die, but the percentage of people dying from the coof is, well, considering that we have a flu season every year in this country, the flu is worse. And not just a little bit worse, no, a lot worse. But that's not the point they're trying to make. The point they're trying to make is, you have to be afraid. Well, afraid of what? Well, obviously of the coof. Yeah, but why do I have to be afraid? No. The question is not why. Obviously the question isn't why. because you have to be. That's why. But yeah, no. So in the Netherlands, they decided that you are forced to wear a mouthpiece. Okay, yeah, sure, why not? Seems like a bad idea, but why not? Well, the why not part is quite simple, because there are people that have medical problems. Hi, they're toxic. There are people that have medical problems and therefore can't wear a face diaper. And I know because I'm one of them. My lungs are pretty much failing, which is funny because that means that I'm at risk of the coofcoof. I mean, there is a higher percentage for people like me to die when I get the coofcoof, just like the flu, by no small comparison, and hi there, Nick. But people like me also have a problem with wearing the face diaper because our lungs aren't that strong, and because our lungs aren't that strong, the face diaper is a hindrance. It stops us from breathing well, which is well, one could argue that that's a big deal, because without air, without oxygen, people tend to die, which seems like a bad thing to happen to me. So personally, I can't wear a face diaper, and there are more people like me. And the Dutch government did recognize that issue. So people in this country are mandated to wear a face diaper, but there are exceptions. Now, what does that mean, there are exceptions? Well, the government basically said, there are people that could be an exception. And I'm showing you the card people should have with them to prove that they're an exception. And I'm going to translate what it says whilst reading it. Haide renovatio. Exception for face diapers. There is an exception on the face diaper duty. I'm going to call them face diapers. Fuck it. For people that have how do you call it? Beperking, that are limited because of health, mental or physical, and because of that can't wear a face diaper. Then you have the blue circle with a woman with a face diaper on her face, and below that it says, I am one of the exception. And then it also gives a link, not a link, it gives an address where you can find more information about the face diaper exception rule, which is quite funny. But the biggest funny thing is the thing that they didn't say. And what is it they didn't say? Well, I mean, it's nice of the government that they give an exception, but at the same time, the law in this country, and in a lot of European countries, kinda forbids it to register medical data without permission of, I'm sorry, I'm going to do this slightly different because this gives, I'm messing up. I'm good at messing up. I'm sorry. Come here. So, Dick. Yes. See, I should have taken more time doing this right. Sorry. But there are several laws that kind of forbid the government to say, okay, this is what you have to do. Now, again, this is in Dutch, but Article 10, which is the second one in the list of the Dutch Constitution, basically says that I, as an individual, have the right to live the way I want to live, which means that the government can't put on arbitrary restrictions on me. And wearing a face diaper is basically an arbitrary restriction. This is, by the way, the same reason why in the Netherlands it's very difficult to forbid the hijab. Because if you want to wear a face diaper, you're allowed to, and whether you do so because of an illness or because of a religion is in no way interesting. But the last one, I mean, Article 9 of the AVG, which basically means the protection of personal information, or information about the person. Which is a better expression, face diaper or mouth condom? I would say face diaper. I mean, it's not really a condom, is it? It's more like a diaper. I like diaper anyway. It's nose nappy. Yeah, and a nappy is a diaper, isn't it? Anyway, uh, thank you for making me laugh. Anyway, Article 9 of the, and this is a European law, it's not a Dutch law. Article 9 is European, which basically say you cannot discriminate people on a large basis of things, and you cannot keep records on those things. And obviously religion and sexuality are mentioned, but health is one of those things. So I can keep a pass saying I'm the exception because the government wants me to do that. But in no way am I obligated to explain to people why I am the exception. And there's a reason for this, because, and this is true, I am grateful that the Dutch government did this, even though they're not really following through on it. The Dutch government recognizes that there are lots of people that have basically mental or physical health issues that might not want to tell the world. Because we all want to be normal. I know my mother has the same lung problem I do. She, funny enough, hasn't have it as bad as I do. But she also has a big problem breathing with a face diaper. But she still does it because, well, shouldn't she? It's normal, right? But if I wear a face diaper, I'm knackered. I mean, if I wear a face diaper for 10 minutes, that's the rest of the day gone because my body's energy household is completely shot. And this is true for my mother too. But then again, she's an older woman, so she doesn't have to have a lot of things to do during the day, and she's already shot anyway. There are more people like us. But, and that this is even funnier, there are people with psychological problems that might fear wearing a face mask. Now that fear might be unsubstantiated, but they have the fear nonetheless. So then being forced to wear it will be, well, cruel and unusual punishment, sorry. Cruel and unusual punishment, I should have used the last bit. Because you're making their day harder. And some people, for example, with mentally handicapped people, can't deal with wearing it either. Okay, sure. But that also means that they may have a problem with people around them wearing it. So if you work with these people, you have an exempt status from wearing a face diaper because the people around you might have a problem with you wearing a face diaper, therefore you don't have to. And then there's another category. If, for example, you are deaf and you need to be able to read the lips of someone. But you can't do that with a face diaper on, can you? So there are plenty of exceptions to the rule, and the Dutch government did recognize that there are plenty of exceptions to the rule, which is very nice of them. But here's the thing. They can't basically ask people to provide proof of why they are an exception, because Article 9 says, no, there is no right to register this sort of information. I mean, yeah, your doctor may need to know, obviously, so you have to register it with the healthcare professionals and blah, blah, blah. But the shop on the corner of the street has absolutely no right to ask for this information. So if you walk into that room and you're not wearing a face diaper, they're going to tell you that you have to wear a face diaper. And then you're going to say, no, I'm an exception. And they're not allowed to ask, oh, why? Because it's not information that they're allowed. I mean, you may tell them if you want to, because everything is allowed if you do it, but they're not allowed to ask. Which, by the way, they still do because they don't realize they're not allowed to do that. And then they ask and you say, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to divulge this information because I don't feel you have the right to my personal medical history. And then they're going to call the police, and then the police comes, and if it's a smart cop, he's going to say, yeah, you're right, and walks away. But, let's be honest, not all cops are smart. There are the authoritarian ones, the ones that basically go along the lines of bevel ist bevel, and they will write you a ticket. Now, we have proof in the Netherlands that this has already happened, that people with the exempt status have been given a ticket. I'm pretty sure that there's a good chance that this may indeed happen to me as well. And if it does, I've already made all preparations ready to fight it in the court of law. And I have to admit that I am very positive that I might win it. Hi there, Michael Keller. The thing is, however, what we are seeing, or at least what I'm seeing, is when I'm outside on the in the city shopping, people look weird at me because I'm not wearing a face diaper, and most people are wearing a face diaper. Most of the people wear them under their nose because they still need to breathe, and a lot of people have problem breathing, so they don't put it over their nose, which kind of means that the whole face diaper thing is useless. But then again, it's useless anyway, so it doesn't really matter much. But they look weird at you because you're not following along. And herein lies the problem with the exempt status. Basically, what the government did is create a second-rate civilian. And considering that discrimination and second-rate civilian types have always been a negative thing, it makes you wonder why the government is doing this and whether this is indeed an accident. And there have been people that already has put the link between the pass for exempt status, I think I showed you a moment ago, basically saying, well, you know, all good and well, but the pass for the exempt status is kind of like the Second World War star the Jews needed to wear. And then people say, well, yeah, no, that's far-fetched. But is it really? Because by creating an exempt status for certain people and them having to wear their exempt status, or at least show their exempt status, what they're also saying is, yeah, you know what? It's a problem for you, and other people have a problem with you having that exception. Because people believe the lie that wearing a face diaper will save you, and therefore people not wearing their face diaper will actually harm them. And I wonder how long it will take until people will start acting out in violence towards the people basically having that exemption. And this is something I did see today. Now, not the violence, but there was an old guy shouting at an old woman because she didn't wear the right sort of face diaper. She did, however, wear a face mask, a splatter mask, which were perfectly fine until the 1st of December, but since the 1st of December, they're not good enough anymore. But there are people who wear the face diaper splatter mask because, well, it isn't as restrictive to breathing as the face diaper is. It's still too restrictive for me, unfortunately. But yeah, my lungs are pretty much shot, and I knew this. But people are already shouting at other people for not doing what they consider to be the right thing. Now, an old man would not start shouting toward me, even though I am also not the youngest one. I am definitely not a very old woman, so people tend to be more careful around me. Which is funny, and maybe justified, I don't know. But it also shows what happens with the individual. Because the individual that feels threatened will act out. And because the group psychosis of wearing face diapers has been planted in society as much as it has, especially in the Netherlands, and I'm pretty sure this is true for the whole of the Western world, that if you do not wear a face diaper, people look at you and basically blame you for the problems. Not that you have anything to do with the problems, but they blame you for it because the problem hasn't been solved, and, well, they're wearing a face diaper, and if they can, why can't you? And these people will basically bond together with other people wearing face diapers, and they will turn against people not wearing the face diaper. I fear it's merely a matter of time. And government is pushing this. Now, obviously, if we go to America, we have plenty of examples of people losing their jobs or losing their businesses because of the face diaper push of the government. But yeah, there is a huge problem with this in the Western world. And people are still blind to see what the problem is. I mean, I did say it before, this is somewhat reminiscent of people being forced to wear the Jew star in Nazi Germany. And then people will say, yeah, but that's an unfair comparison because those people got murdered by the Germans, which is very true. It's a terrible thing what the Germans did, or the Nazis did, sorry, not the Germans, the Nazis did to the Jewish people. The worst part is the wearing of the Jew star started in 1939. The camps started in 1942. The wearing of the face diaper started in 2000. What will be the year that we will force people who can't wear face diapers to stay indoor be? Will that also be this year? Well, it's only a few weeks now, so it probably won't be this year, but let's be honest, in a few weeks the new year will start, but I don't see an end to this corona madness. People losing jobs due to no diaper here in Switzerland too. Thank you, Michael Keller, for clearing that up. And I fear you are correct. And this is really a problem. We are destroying our society and our economy because a disease with a IFR rating lower than a medium flu. Social diaper warriors. Thank you, Renovatio. That one should... we're going to keep that one in. Yeah, that's a good one, actually. The camp started in 1933. Well, yeah, but the camps in 1933, as you say yourself, Michael, were the political dissidents and then the Romi Sinti. But yeah, the Jews came later. And that's the thing. The Jews came after they were basically told to wear distinguishing markers. And that's the thing. You create in-group, out-group mindset among the people. And I already notice that in the Netherlands, this in-group, out-group mindset is starting. There are people who blame people for not wearing a mask. Just like in the prelude to the Holocaust, there were people in Germany that started blaming the Jews for all the problems they were having. Now I can do a whole stream on explaining why that is, and which part of it is understandable and which part of it is absolutely, well, by lack of a better word, ludicrous. But the reality is still there. So, oh, sorry. Needed to do a swivel of something to drink. So, but this is the thing. If in the Netherlands you are now by law mandated to wear a mask, and by law given an exception to wear a mask, but you're not allowed to blatantly go out and celebrate Saint Nick, which is weird. I mean, they actually didn't do much in the celebration of Saint Nicholas this year. I mean, there is, well, there used to be a house in basically every big city had a house of Saint Nick where the kids could go during the day to visit Saint Nick and Black Pete, or, well, a lot of them. But yeah, not this year, because there's a cough going around that kills about 0.5% of all the people that really got sick. And this is 0.5% of all the people that really got sick. Not all of the people that got infected, by the way, because that's lower than that still. But it's madness. I mean, we still get told, well, we can't do the Saint Nick's houses because the kids have died from corona. Yeah, in the Netherlands, a grand total of, if I'm remembering this right, 2 people died of corona that were younger than 20. I'm not quite sure if this is true for everyone, but to me, that doesn't really constitute a huge problem. I mean, it's a problem for the 2 people that died, yeah, sure. And I wish no one died. But are we seriously going to stop all kids in the Netherlands from doing what kids do because 2 kids died with corona? And that's the biggest lie, because they didn't die from corona, they died with corona. I'm looking if I can find the numbers real fast. Let me see. Yes, here it is. Where is... No, it's not here. Oh, see, I should have prepared myself slightly better. And yeah, I mean, we need to all die indeed before people will recognize that maybe we should have done it slightly different. And people are talking about, yeah, but there were a lot of people that died this year, and a lot more because of corona. And I'm like, well, I've looked at the overall death mortality numbers, and in all fairness, it doesn't seem to be that much higher than the average for a year. I mean, yes, there were periods that were higher than other periods, but there were also periods that were lower. Keep in mind, Bouwrik Wouwbagger. I am sorry, Ludicrous. I have no idea what you're on about there. And I'm trying to find... I thought I had it. I thought I had it somewhere, but I can't find it, which is quite annoying, to be honest. Is it here? Come on. Nope, it's not here. Because... Is it this one? This is from Germany. Well, is this the right one from Germany? Well, you know what? This is from Germany, guys. I'm going to show you this one. It's not quite the one that I wanted to show you, because I know one from the Netherlands as well, and I have it somewhere, but I can't find it. I'm sorry, I've ill prepared. But that's because today is basically a holiday. I was celebrating with the family not too long ago because of Saint Nick. It's his birthday. You can't downplay the birthday of Saint Nick. It's not done. It's not correct. Anywho, so this is a screenshot of the German version of the CDC or RIVM or whatever you want to call it. But first I have to resize it so it will actually fit. I am sorry, I should have prepared better. I know, I've said this a few times already. Here you go. Now, these are the number of coronavirus deaths in Germany, by gender, by age. And I have to admit, these are people who died with corona, not people who died from corona. And I think this is from October. I'm pretty sure it's from October because it says so. So yeah, since October, a few more people have died. But it's also from the very start. So this is not the month of October. No. This is the whole period of time. And if we look at it, we can see that if we look at the 0 to 9 years, yeah, okay, 2 people died, a boy and a girl. And in Germany, by the way, in the Netherlands it's not, but in Germany. And then in the age of 10 to 19, 2 boys died. Now, from 20 to 30, it's a lot worse than that, because 14 people died. And then, oh, we're going a little bit older. it's almost 30 people die, 14, 30. So that's like double. And if we then go 10 years older again, it's almost 90 people, so nearly double again. And then 50, you see the numbers, I don't have to keep repeating it. And then it really gets a problem once you get older than 70 years old. So explain to me, why are we closing down life for the kids? Hell, I wouldn't even know why we would close down life for people of my age, and I'm one of the people who has extra risk. Oh, you mean the Hitchhiker's Guide of the... Yes, okay, sorry, I should have known. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that one, Ludicrous. Thank you. But yeah, no, I mean, how weird is it that in our day and age, we close down, and this is Germany, by the way, and Germany has a what? About 80 million citizens. I think it's about 80 million. Can't tell, not sure. But even if it were these numbers in the Netherlands, with only 18 million, would you seriously close down a complete society for, let's say, only 10,000 deaths? 10,000 out of 18 million. And not 10,000 a day. No, 10,000 almost a year. In the Netherlands, 13 people roughly a day die. I think it's 13, because they have a terrible fall. Now, obviously, these are very old people, and it's terrible that it happens, but it's happening. I should check it for them. Just to make sure. Yeah, according to the CBS, which is basically the Dutch version of the Statistic Bureau, on average, 13 people a day die because they fall. So that's almost half as many as all of the corona deaths in Germany. Who published a new study with comorbidity? The survival rate is 98.4, and without comorbidity, it's yes. I agree, Michael Keller. This is true, and I fall under the category with a comorbidity, so I have a little bit more than 1%. Actually, I still don't have a 1% chance of dying because of my age. So even with comorbidity, I still have more than a 99% chance of survival. But yeah. And most people that have problems with the vaccines will have allergic reactions. And it's a new vaccine, because this is a vaccine indeed on RNA, which never happened. And let's be honest, people like to talk about how successful the flu vaccines are, but the flu vaccines are crap. They have never been proven to work. We just assume they do. But if you ask any doctor, they will tell you, well, it's a good idea. Well, will you do it when you get old? Nah, probably not. Well, wait a second. It was such a good idea. And, well, in all fairness, Ludicrous, Corona was in Europe, not just in Switzerland, but in all of Europe before January 2020. It was here earlier. Well, they wouldn't have died from the fall had they been wearing masks. No, helmets, probably. Mind you that, yes, 13 people die of a fall, but the vast majority of these people was 80 years or older. More than 3/4 of it. By the way, that's kind of like with Corona, where the vast majority of the deaths are 80 or older. Okay, let me see what you say, Michael. Flu vaccine. Father's retirement. castle has mandatory flu vaccination. So they did early November. 1 week later, they all tested positively on corona. No one's been sick though. Well, yeah, that's the thing. But if we look at flu vaccine, there are more people that get sick because of the flu vaccine in some years than actually getting sick from the flu. And I know this because, again, I am one of the risk factor groups. So I can get a flu vaccine absolutely free of charge for, well, ever. Since I'm 20, I could get one for free. And I think since I've been 24, 25, I stopped taking them. Because I noticed that whenever I took a flu vaccine a few days later or a week later, I would start getting a little bit sickish. Not really sick, but sick enough not to have a good time. And by not taking the vaccine, I basically didn't have that problem. And if I did have the flu, it usually won 2 days, and that's it. So not taking the vaccine was more useful for me than taking the vaccine. There are lots of people who will have similar experiences than me, which is funny, because they are still pushing the idea that taking a flu vaccine is a good thing. And they didn't use the name vaccine for the flu injection. They called it a flu injection, a flu shot. But they didn't call it a vaccine because it's not. It doesn't work as a vaccine. And it's kind of funny because if you now say, well, I'm not going to take it, then you're an anti-vaxxer. But it's not the same thing. Modwayne, what's to stop them extending lockdown after COVID, for example, forbidding females from leaving their houses in case they get raped? I'm just going to use the word fuck it, YouTube. Well, yeah, that's the thing. All people shouldn't be driving cars because so many people die in car accidents. Or let's stop people from drinking alcohol. That worked wonders almost a century ago in America, didn't it? It's all about populace control. It's not about you getting better or not spreading the disease. Hell, I mean, you can go to the supermarket, but you cannot go to a gym. You can go to a movie theater, but you cannot go to a restaurant. You can't visit your friends, but it's perfectly fine to sit with a bunch of people you don't know in a bus. It's not about trying to stop the disease. And even in the Netherlands, the Minister of Justice, the one pushing the agenda of forcing people to comply to the corona mandates, didn't comply to him himself. He just didn't care. He got married and he invited his grandmother and his not grandmother, mother-in-law, and he gave her a hug and all those things. In all fairness, perfectly normal behavior, but kind of the same thing that other people in the Netherlands got fined for and got a rap sheet for. They were registered offenders because they didn't do what he didn't do. Yeah, indeed, Michael, I just said that. It's the difference between the time lapse of the chat and me talking. But yeah, no, indeed. Many women that I know already don't leave the house by themselves after dark. Well, yeah, Sock Ninja, that's unfortunately also a problem. But again, it's because people being talked into being scared. I mean, women for the longest time have been scared to go outside because of rape culture, because 1 in 5, 1 in 4, I think it was, what's her name, the stupid cow from Australia, Clementine Ford, I think it was Clementine Ford, saying 1 in 3, yeah, sure, why ever, keep pushing that narrative, which basically just means that people will be afraid, and therefore they will basically pull out of society. And the same thing is happening now with the bloody COVID thing. I've talked to quite a few medical professionals. Hell, I used to be a medical professional, though psychological, so not quite the same. And there are people who will absolutely believe the media lie. But there are also people who absolutely recognize the bullshit. I mean, if you go to the Netherlands, most GPs, general practitioners, huisartsen as we call them in the Netherlands, will tell you how terrible COVID is. But we have more GPs in the Netherlands than victims of COVID, people that died from COVID. So how can they all say how terrible it is? Because not all of them will have had a patient die. Actually, most of them wouldn't have, because most of them died in old folks' homes, and these places have not a GP, but a basic doctor, which is still a doctor, don't get me wrong, I mean, not trying to knock on them, but they're not GPs. And we have like 13,000 GPs in the Netherlands and a few thousand nursing homes. Those nursing homes have their own doctors. They don't fall under the GP. So most doctors will not have had a patient die of COVID. Yet still, most of them will tell you how terrible the disease is. It's beyond me. And we notice this and we see this. And whenever a doctor stands up and talks about how, yeah, you know, COVID is bad, but come on, don't go overboard. The media, both online and offline, will absolutely kill the stream or the story, because how dare you go against the COVID is such a bad thing narrative. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, I mean, COVID has to go through because this is how they will push the Great Reset. And this is something we've been hearing about a lot as well. And it seems to be true. I mean, I could try to pretend it's not, but it seems to be true. At the same time, there's not much we can do about it. Unless we start taking down our politicians. And I don't see that happening in Europe, not yet. Now, mind you, in Europe, I mean, the populace will not go against the politicians really fast. Why? Because the politicians and the police have a monopoly on violence. And this is the one thing that America still has. The option to use violence against their oppressors. I mean, it's kind of funny because I saw a question someone asked on Quora. I sometimes go to Quora. It's kind of funny because a lot of left-wing ideology there is being pushed as the norm as well. And one of the people basically asked, well, how would the European Union act if one of their countries became dictatorial? And I'm like, you mean that the politicians in a country will make rules for the general public, but will not abide themselves by these rules? Yeah, I wonder how they would act. Well, they wouldn't act because shit like this has been happening for the last, let's say, 6 months. For example, if we look at the Netherlands, most restaurants have been closed. One of the restaurants that hasn't been closed is the one within Parliament building. Because, well, yeah, the people working there need to eat. Oh, wait a second. How is this any different than other people that need to eat? If I work somewhere and I need to eat, don't I? Well, you can take your dinner to work. So how can't you at the Parliament building? Yeah, but it's different. Well, fuck that. And did the person ever look at Germany? No, they didn't. And it's kind of funny because I saw a 60-minute clip, 60-minute Australia, talking about the Swedish experiment, because Sweden didn't lock down, and they're talking about how terrible it is in Sweden now, which is absolutely not true. Okay, yeah, Sweden, on per capita, Sweden has a few more deaths than the Netherlands. But at no point in time did their lives get fucked up because corona measurements and people having to wear face diapers and social distancing. To me, the biggest point, though, is, can you all remember how this corona bullshit started? We used to call it the Kung Flu and the Wuhan virus. Why? Because that's where it came from. Thing is, life in the province of Wuhan has basically returned to as much normal as you can have in China. People are still going to work, people still going to parties. I mean, not too long ago I saw a video on YouTube on a pool party in Wuhan. It looked rather silly to him. Yes, Wuhan, thank you. It looked rather silly, but China has been absolutely going back to normal. And in the Netherlands, we're already recognizing that a lot of small businesses are going over and need to sell their company, their surplus materials, etc., etc. And a lot of that is being bought up by Chinese businessmen. Now, I remember that when we talked about, well, we didn't talk, but in the past when I talked about, for example, crime, and the main question always was, yeah, but who benefits? So who is benefiting from the lockdowns? Well, obviously it's not the Dutch, it's not the American, it's not the English, it's not the Germans. It's not the average person. It's the super rich. They're benefiting. And it's China. It has seen its export grow. It has seen its trade grow. Even though America has put in trade limits, but yeah, Europe hasn't. So yeah, lots of trade to Europe going as normal. And noticing that means that you're, well, obviously an ist. I don't care which one of ists you mean, but yeah, you must be an ist, because how dare you recognize this? Who benefits? Well, yeah, the World Health Organization does benefit too, though not as much as people like to think. Well, in the beginning, the World Health Organization kind of pushed the China narrative, but there are a lot of countries that didn't really listen to the World Health Organization, not the Western countries for some stupid reason. Well, whatever. But for example, India and African countries, they didn't really care about the WHO, because they've noticed that the WHO is about as trustworthy as a popsicle bicycle in the desert. An ice cream bicycle? Anyway, not very trustworthy. But even the World Health Organization has already started saying, yeah, you know what? Stop with the lockdowns. Lockdowns aren't working. It's not so much that lockdowns aren't working, because of course they're not working, but the problem with lockdowns is that it destroys the economies. And if the economies go under, there is less money, there is less trade goods, and people might start noticing, hey, wait a second, why are we paying you billions of dollars and fuck all is happening? There is a rise in famines. And the main reason for that is transport. Well, yeah, obviously a lot of transport has gone down a lot because of the Wuhan virus. Yeah, but because the downing of that transport, that means that food doesn't go to the places where it's more needed. In America, for example, there have been cities struggling to fill their supermarkets. That's weird, because there isn't a shortage of food in America, but there's a shortage of food in certain areas. Why is that? Well, because of restrictions put on it by the local governments. I like it how people are blaming Trump for that, but yeah, no, it's the local governments. Anyway, it's funny to see how the Netherlands went on with the being compliant to the corona bullshit. And it kind of does beg the question how things will go with the other countries when it comes, for example, to Christmas. A lot of people thought that, yeah, people will still celebrate Christmas and they will still celebrate Santa Claus, which they did, but at a way smaller output. It's a way smaller base. Anyway, I think I'm done talking. Let me know if you enjoyed the stream, and if you want to say something, let me know. I am actually thinking about how to set things up so I can have guests on the stream again. I did look at Zoom. Zoom is still an option, but if I will use Zoom, I will be limited to streams of 40 minutes, unless I pay for it, and I'm not rich, so that's not going to happen. I could still look at Skype, because that might still work, but I haven't tried it yet. The last time I tried it was together with John some long time ago, and we didn't get it to work then. But things may have changed, because, I mean, OBS has been through a few updates, so who knows? Skype might work now. Xmas in Switzerland, only 2 families allowed, mixing max. Well, yeah, stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, unless anyone wants to say something or wants to come join me, I think I'm going to call it. So I'm giving you guys a few seconds to respond. What do you mean the chat stream option as OBS alternative? You mean StreamYard or something like that? The problem with StreamYard is that they, I didn't like them. That's for first. And to have certain options open, I had to pay for it. Yeah, thanks Ludicrous. Thank you for joining us. And thanks for the fish, yeah. Yeah, I did try StreamYard, Michael. I didn't go live with StreamYard, but John and I did do a few test runs with it. I didn't like it. OBS gives more control. So the main thing I need is a way to share imagery with people I talk with. And StreamYard was as good or as bad at it. And I need a way to record their sound. Well, OBS will allow me to use any sound really, so I should be able to work it with Skype now too. It didn't for some reason back then. But yeah, that's why we stayed with Hangout, because when streaming, the most important 2 things are the person I'm talking with has to see the same thing I'm seeing, and we have to be online with each other at the same time, because once we start streaming, there is a delay. And there are good books to read, Michael, don't worry. The Hitchhiker's Guide is probably one of the funniest books, even though it has been rewritten as often as it has. Anyway, well, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for joining me. I hope to see you all next time. And I wish you a very happy day. Remember, Saint Nick left the Netherlands. He will be going to different countries to spread joy. And oh yeah, when you cough, keep a hand in front of your mouth when you cough. Not that it does anything, but it looks nice. I hope to see you all next time, and be good.